Hello, this is a video of how to prepare your digital inkjet image for your digital project. So the paper that you're going to be using is a 13 by 19 inch photo paper, and how you would do this first is create a new document with the correct dimensions. So you want to consider whether or not you're going to have a white border. So if you start out with these settings for each of your two images and then copy paste them, in other content, you'll kind of avoid complications before and during printing. So for me, what I would like is a 1/2 inch border all around the image. So I'm going to start with like a 12 by 18 image size. And then later on, what I'll do is increase the canvas size to 13 by 19. That way I will have a 1/2 inch border. You want to set your resolution to 360 and then create your document. So once you have your image ready, you could just throw it into your newly created file. And in this video, what I'll do is show you how to use the lasso tool to remove certain parts of your photograph. As you noticed in screen printing, if your image has information in the background, the color doesn't lay down brightly, right? It becomes muddled. So for this image, I'm going to cut out this portion of this patch. So there's some new ways to isolate particular objects. This is, I think, a new thing. So you could select by subject, and it did this kind of odd selection. You can use that and try that, but what happens is it kind of doesn't really capture and isolate the object very crisply, because I think there's some pixels that are not really clear. But anyway, one I wanted to show you is this lasso tool. So you could use the magnetic lasso, the polygonal lasso, or just the regular lasso, and how you can like add or remove. Oh, let's do that again. Add or remove the selection is by using, for the apple, you can use Option for deselecting, or Shift to add selection to this portion. So I'm going to remove by holding down Option. For the Mac, I think it's Alt to remove, and Shift is also to add. So you want to hold down the deselection tool, and I have mine to the magnetic, but the magnetic isn't always very clear, so I'm just gonna loosely do this. And you can see it's not totally clear, it's still jagged. So what you can do is also use the polygonal lasso to remove or add, and that is just by you selecting certain portions So I'm going to remove this. So you want to just click on the areas that you want to remove. Or add. So I want to add, so you could So for this portion, I'm gonna do 2 layers on top of this photograph, which would be a solid color on top, and then a halftone on top of that solid color. So I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit more, but I think it also selected this, and I don't like that. So once you have your isolation, what you can do is copy it and create a new layer. So here's create a new layer, and then you want to paste it. What you can also do, so what I'm going to do is select a color range, select the white, and then I'm going to inverse it, select the inverse, and that way this portion is selected. I'm going to create a new layer and fill it with white. And that's just so I can have a so I could have this printout ready for me to print from the digital printer. So let's edit this layer. I'm going to select this portion, right? Duplicate this layer. And I'm going to call it bitmap. What you can do for the destination is create a new document and call it bitmap. So this is the new document that has the same resolution, same size. Oops, that's not the one. So I'm going to edit this so I can create a halftone. So I'm going to do the same thing as before, create a adjustment layer. Let's change it to black and white. I'm going to manipulate it so I can get a good contrast. So the same thing, you can manipulate how much of a color is within this isolated portion of your image. So you could create a black and white adjustment layer. You can create, we could use levels and curves. I'm just trying to create something with good contrast and to be able to see the bark a little bit better. once you have these things ready, right now it is still in color, and I'm happy with this. I'm going to change this to, oops, grayscale. So go to image mode, grayscale. So right now it's in color, though it looks black and white. I'm going to change it to grayscale, removing a lot of this information. It says, do you want to change, discarded, all of these layers, right? Say okay. Discard the color information, discard. Oops, I did not do that right. So we have to flatten this first. So let's flatten the image and then change this to grayscale and discard the information. So from here, at this point, once it's grayscale, I could change this to bitmap. And with bitmap, you want to just make sure the resolution is the same as the original, which it was, and you want to choose halftone screen. So the frequency is how many dots. It's kind of mimicking continuous tone, but with dots, right? So for screen printing, when you're creating a film or exposing your emulsion with the film, it's blocking out light and creating an image by, you know, letting the sort of like faking your eye out to see grayscale, right? So the frequency is like how many dots are in an inch. So let's just select, just to show you, 30 dots per inch. I'm going to select round, but there are different shapes you could use as the halftone screen. So I'm just going to say 30. And if you look closely, it's kind of like how a magazine looks up close, right? These are little dots, black and white, creating this illusion of mass. But you could manipulate that or play with that number. So I'm going to do that again. Choose bitmap. Make sure the resolution's right. Halftone screen is selected. I'm going to say, I don't know, 5, or let's do 8. Select round. And so you see the dots are bigger, right? Once you have something that you like and are for a layer that you want to screen print, I'm going to duplicate this. Oop. Oh, since it's still in a bitmap, I want to change the mode to grayscale so I could put it back into my original image. So choose grayscale. Now I can duplicate the layer, select duplicate layer. I'm gonna rename it as bitmap. I think that was 8. And destination, I'm gonna put it back into my original. And so okay. So when you go back to your original, you can see this layer that you created. You can see this by selecting multiply. Okay. So I'm just reordering my layers. So my bitmap layer that I just created in that document that was isolated is above my white layer, my white patch. And I can, remember you can change, say, the color overlay to mimic what you would like to print, or maybe the color that you want to print. Right, so but this color overlay is more for you to maybe have an idea of what color you would like to mix. Printing on top of white, you don't have a problem with having the color get too muddy. But if you are just going to print directly on the photograph, you can see sort of a residual hint of what was underneath. If you want to, say, use white or make the color more opaque, you can mix that, and without kind of doing this color isolation. So this is kind of like what you can do. But when you do print out, you could select your layers and have these elements, these bitmap elements, the white, sorry, this is the black, right? Oops. So for each of these screen printed elements, all of these must be printed out in black, right? And since this can fit on a tabloid size vellum piece, you could print these all on one sheet. But to get your image ready for me to print, oops, what you can do is flatten this once you have this prepared. Forgot, I need to change the canvas size because I want that border. Well, you want to save your Photoshop document with all your layers. Let's save this. What I'm going to do is flatten this. By 19. I think I did something wrong. Okay, so once I flatten the image, I guess I could unlock it. Oops. So once I flatten the image, just want to unlock it. Then you can change the canvas size to 13 by 19, and then you'll have this white border. But if you this checkerboard is basically just an empty background. You can fill it or not fill it. in, this is basically how it would look. Once you have your image ready, you could flatten the image, save as. You want to make sure that you save this as, for printing, right? This is just for me, but you want to save this as a TIFF or a PDF. TIFF or PDF for me, and send this to me through the cloud or an email. I'm not sure if it fits in an email, but have that ready for me this way. Another thing you can do is, so once you had created a image or a file to the resolution and size you wanted, and dragged and dropped your image inside of the new file, it becomes like this smart object, but then it kind of doesn't, it just keeps the original file as uneditable. But what you can do is, I just wanted to show you this. You duplicate this layer. I'm gonna duplicate it, and still this little logo means it's a smart object. You can change this to rasterize the image layer, rasterize layer, and it becomes something you can manipulate from here. I can cut, right? So I'm going to cut it. And you see that there's this cutout. You could also create a new layer and just paste those cutouts, right? Or you could also paste in place. So paste special, edit, paste special, paste in place, and that creates a layer that is what you just cut out. Now that it's cut out though, see, this is cut out. That's my original. I'll throw it in the background, below the background. So oops. What I wanted to show you is, say you can find graphics or imagery through those Creative Commons or open source places to use for if you're looking for something. I wanted to show you, there's an artist that has imagery and graphics to download. This is just something that I was going to cut and paste. So I selected something I wanted. You can save the file. So I saved the file. I'm going to open up a new file. Oops. Make sure that it's the same size and resolution. what I'm going to do is just manipulate or take this graphics, this is also a smart object, so I'm going to rasterize the layer so I could edit it. I'm going to remove whatever residual Okay, so I'm going to color select color range. So all of this is selected. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to fill that with black. Okay, so I'm going to copy it. Or you can just duplicate it. Duplicate layer. I'll call it graphics. And my destination is my original. And say OK. Go back to your original. And here is that layer you just created, right? And this can be transformed, right? So you can manipulate this if you want. You can create you could kind of think about layering graphics or elements that you want to screen print on top. Oh, that's why. So this is just an example of what could be possible, but each one of these elements needs to be printed out in black. So this zigzag would be one layer, but isolated, and this solid color must be printed out in black too. There's another demo video for that afterwards.